Hello and welcome back to the Engine Room. My name is Frederik Soby and I am your host. Today we have a recipe episode where we will go through how we do LinkedIn ads here. And for that purpose, I brought our senior specialist, Mathias.
Thank you.
So Mathias, let's get the introduction to you first.
Yes, so as you said, I'm Mathias. I'm the senior paid social specialist here at backfire. I've been running LinkedIn ads and B2B paid social for, 5 years now. So I have some experience in the field and knows a little bit about what is up and down in this sense.
That sounds good. Mm-hmm. So without further ado, let's just get into it.
Yes.
So one of the first things that we are going to talk about today is what are some of the bigger problems that you see out there? What are most people doing wrong with LinkedIn ads?
Yeah, so whenever I do an audit, I see a lot of things. And one of the main things I see is audience size either being too big or too small or narrow, as you say. And that's basically like an ICP issue, I guess. But the majority of the issue is that you want to reach the people that you're targeting, basically, right? So if you have too broad of an audience, you're reaching people that are not within your ICP or that are never going to buy from you, basically.
How do you determine that? So you say, I go in and look at an audit, either it's too small or it's too big. Do you have any like indicators or guardrails that you look at to identify that?
Yeah, usually at least if I see an audience above 200K, I know that's way too big, right? So that's just a good measure. Other than that, you would look at the spend. So if you have an audience of 150K and you're spending $10 a day, then you're probably not going to reach the entire audience and not with a frequency that matters. The same thing if you have too small an audience, the prices might go up, or there's a chance that you've excluded too many people and thereby not reaching the potential audience that you could have.
Right. So it's not, because potentially I would be able to have the audience size of the 150,000 that you said here. So it's also a matter of my, like the abilities of my budget to cover the entire audience.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
So that's also what you're gauging there.
Yeah, you would need to make sure that if you have a large audience, that you have high enough spend to have the right audience penetration and also the right frequency to, develop pipeline.
How do I know if I have if my spend is high enough, or like what frequency I need to be at?
So one of the metrics I would look at is the audience penetration, which is a good measure.
Can you maybe just explain what is that?
Yeah, it will showcase how many of your audience size, if you have an audience size of 100,000 and you have an audience penetration of 20%, then you will only reach 20,000 of those 100,000 people, right? And basically, if you're running a cold layer, you would want around 40% audience penetration. There is people not being active on LinkedIn each month or each week, so you can almost never reach 100%. But 40% is a good measure. And if you go in retargeting, usually you will get above 60% just because you're retargeting people that are active on LinkedIn, and thereby it should be higher, basically.
Okay.
So if you have an audience penetration of 40% in the cold layer, you're usually good to go. And then you would then look at the metric like frequency. So you want to have a frequency of between 2 and 4 in the cold layer, for instance. And even higher in the retargeting layer.
Okay. All right. So there's a matter of having enough budget to cover the entire audience.
Yeah.
Is there anything else we need to look at in terms of targeting too broad or too narrowly?
Well, you would look at the whole ICP fit, right? So if you reach the right job functions or job titles or even company sizes, that would also mean that sometimes you're reaching people that are in company sizes way too big for your ICP. You would also sometimes be looking at excluding too many companies. So when you're excluding a company, for instance, you don't want to target companies within the 2 to 10 company size. But that's a native LinkedIn filter. So when I make a company page, I put in how many people I have in my company. So reality is, there goes a few years, 5 years maybe, I don't update that. Now my company is 1,000 people, and I still that would be an ICP, for instance, but we are excluding the 2 to 10 people company size, and then that company would get out of our targeting.
Okay, that sounds like that's obviously a people problem, right? It's a manual problem of like, I'm not, so what you're saying is also, even though there's 1,000 people associated with my company page, that doesn't automatically update itself.
No,
right.
No, and also sometimes people wouldn't associate with the company page when they develop a
Yeah.
LinkedIn profile.
And
Right?
sometimes you also see a lot of people associating with the
Yes.
company page that doesn't necessarily fit there.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So in terms of how do we solve that? There's not really a way to solve that issue, I expect.
No, you would look at how many, what's the percentage of impressions is going into 2 to 10, for instance. So if it's a high percentage, then you probably need to exclude it if you're targeting above 1,000 employees, for instance. But if it's a low percentage, chances are that people are having multiple jobs or that the company size just is wrong in that specific company,
Okay.
and then you would just include it.
Okay. All right. Now we're talking exclusions. Is there any like table stakes in terms of exclusions that you always want to put to really like get the most bang for your buck on LinkedIn?
Yeah, so I would always exclude like what it's called unpaid or training people.
Yeah.
Just
Seniority level?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I would always exclude closed one. Obviously, there are cases where that would matter to have closed one in there if you want to do nurturing or retention or something like that. But that would be an audience for itself, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you would exclude opportunities, at least for your code layer. You would exclude, in the code layer, I would exclude everyone that has any knowledge of us. So
Okay.
that would be website visitors or previous engagers or
Okay.
whatever. That's supposed to be completely cold,
Okay.
at least from a digital touch
Yeah.
point.
And then obviously your own company,
Yeah, exactly.
competitors,
Yeah.
all those things.
Yeah, exactly. Partners, if you don't want to reach those. then
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's actually the cold layer is very much about having the right fit or like having the right size that matches to the budget that you have available.
Yes.
So you would encourage companies that might be spending a little bit less, that might not have. Every company says this. We have a limited budget, right?
Yeah.
So companies that have a limited budget, you would encourage them to tighten the audience rather than expand and see. I want to just target as many people as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Well, you could do 3 things basically.
Yeah.
You could tighten the audience to get more bang for your buck. You could increase the spend. Not many companies are willing to do that. Or you could work around with these different campaign objectives
Yes.
to see where you get the cheapest CPMs, and then
Right.
out of that determine the budget.
Okay. Cool. Let's move on a little bit. So one of the bigger things that you see people when running LinkedIn ads do wrong is they don't have the right audience.
Yes.
What else?
They put on these stupid things like audience expansion or
Yeah.
LinkedIn Audience Network. Like LinkedIn will push that down your throat whenever they can. That's just a no-go.
Yeah.
Audience Network has its time and place, but 90% of the cases we wouldn't use it.
Okay.
And then, like, if you do maximum delivery in terms of bidding, then you're just spending too much money.
Right.
So I would always go for manual bidding or cost cap,
Okay.
just to. Again, it's a budget issue, right? We
Yes.
want to have the cheapest budget as possible.
Right. Let's take those 3 one at a time. So we have the audience network expansion.
Yeah.
And the power of LinkedIn is we are able to, and that's why we really like using LinkedIn, right? We're able to very cleanly and concisely say, I want to target this job title.
Yes.
But then if you click that, what happens?
Then LinkedIn will do, I would say, a meta thing
Yes.
or a Facebook thing. They would use the algorithm and try to match people that are relevant. And because we don't have all these interest-based things on LinkedIn, how should they know,
Yeah.
right? So, but they would go beyond your audience and try to find people that they seem relevant for your company. And
Based on and I think especially in B2B, you don't always get a lot of data sent back into the platforms, right? So they're gonna do it on limited amounts of data, and they're gonna do it on flawed data as well. So like they basically don't have any basis of saying this is probably a good company
exactly.
that you want to show yourself to. So what they're doing instead is just saying here is the cheapest that we can get you, right?
Yeah. We've tested it, and I've also seen multiple tests on this. And usually the retargeting pool that you get from those audience expansions or even audience network is usually not very good.
Okay.
So I wouldn't recommend that.
Is there a use case for it, do you think?
You could try it if your audience is very small and you're beginning advertising, just want to test out what's out there in the market. You could do it, put on the audience expansion, see what demographics you reach and also how they engage, right? Because there's a chance that you get job titles that you wouldn't have thought of.
Yep.
And they will engage in your ads and then potentially be relevant for you. And then you can, well, after a certain time period, you would probably turn that off and then include the ones that are relevant for you.
Right. I've been experimenting with it on the retargeting layer, just to see if there was any, because there was a partly it was a small audience, right? But it was also quite targeted.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, if I give them this, all these indicators of I want people that have been engaging with my stuff, been on this website, been on the pricing page, been on the demo page, and then use audience exclusion there. I didn't have anything conclusive to say about it, but that was one of the use cases that I have been thought of about it at least, and that was more of a, because then my thinking was, Meta has more data,
Yes,
and you would probably be able to use this audience expansion more favorably on Meta than you would on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But I thought that this was maybe what would get me the closest to a Meta-like situation, but no data on it.
It's a matter of how much you trust the algorithm and the tech behind it, if you want to do it or not.
Right. And then we have the LAN.
Yes.
Right. LinkedIn Audience Network.
Yeah.
And that is basically allowing LinkedIn to serve our ads outside of their platform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that would be like a display network or mobile phone apps or whatever.
Okay.
They would show ads there.
Yeah. All right. And we also don't want that because that's very low quality traffic.
Yeah. One thing is it's low quality. Oftentimes we see LinkedIn put the majority of the spend there.
Yeah.
You would see crazy, like I had it accidentally on for one day and I had a 22-second dwell time and like the frequency was 30.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, these people have potentially seen the ads 30 times within 2 days, right? But it's just because it's visible every time they click around on websites or whatnot. So
Okay.
So
they might have been reading an article, and that's why. And our ad was in the screen for 22 seconds.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then finally, you had something around maximum delivery bidding strategies, right?
Yes.
I know you feel passionate about that.
Yes.
So why does maximum delivery suck?
Well, LinkedIn wants to earn money, right? So if you would put on maximum delivery, they will do everything it takes to get your ads in front of people. And that would usually be the highest possible spend that you could get in order to reach the audience, right? But you can actually force that down by using the cost cap or the manual bidding. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes LinkedIn will still try to earn money. So they will recommend you something that, 70% of advertisers that are advertising towards this audience pay this price. And usually you would say, okay, but why should I pay the same as 70% of the people? I can usually go lower than that. So our decreases by 20 or 30% and usually see like the CPM will go in half and the CPC would do the same, right?
Yeah.
So it's a matter of budget, right?
We did it for ourselves.
Yeah.
And I also implemented for one of our clients. For ourselves, we saw a 90% drop in CPMs.
Yeah.
Which was insane.
Yeah.
And for the other one I tested it on, I saw a 400% increase in results, right? We wanted to drive website visitors.
Yeah.
And that would obviously, 400% decrease in cost as well, right?
Yeah.
So that was quite good. Can you tell me a little bit about how you do it? You got a little bit into there with LinkedIn recommends a bid range, and they say so advertisers like you, they spend between 10 euros and 30 euros on a click like this.
Yeah.
How do you, and then you do what?
Then I would usually go 20% below the lowest bid and see if my spend is, I have a daily budget. Then I'll see if the daily spend is the same. If it's higher than my daily budget, LinkedIn can, within 7-day period, they should reach the daily budget, right? But they can go up or below the budget when it fits. If you're above the daily budget, if you're spending more than you've scheduled, then there's a chance that you could decrease your bid. If you're not spending the money, then you should probably increase it a bit.
Okay.
And then there's also factors like audience penetration and frequency putting in. So if you have an audience penetration of 20, but a frequency of 5, for instance, then there's a chance that you're not bidding for the audience that are a bit more expensive. So LinkedIn will still use your manual bid, right? But some people are more expensive to reach. So if you only can afford the lower, the cheaper people, then it will only spend the money on those.
Okay.
So then you'll have to increase the bid until you see the audience penetration go respectively up as well.
Okay. So there's a lot of factors to take into consideration here. How do we, so it's both a matter of do I get the frequency that I desire? Do I see that I penetrate my audience enough? And do I also manage to spend the entire budget that I have allocated for that day over a 7-day period?
Yeah, I would usually look at it in a 7-day period. Yeah.
And that's, so over 7 days, that's also when you make the changes.
Then I would make a change. So I have it on a daily recurring every Monday. I'll go through and check if we spent the right amount of money and
Okay.
if the audience penetration is good.
All right. Is it then? So let's say you find it, right? And like I have 100 euros to spend. I spend 100 euros average over here, and my bid is whatever. Do I just leave it?
At a point you can,
Okay.
but then obviously things change. So competition kicks in, and then things get more expensive, and suddenly you're not spending your budget. So then you have to go in and change. So I would look every week, but if I'm in a sweet spot, I'm not too concerned if I spend $0.50 more this day or half a less dollar the other day, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes you'll see from one month to the other that your bid probably needs to be the double because the competition kicks in, or we go in holiday mode, and everything is cheaper, so you can decrease it, right?
Decrease it.
So you need to be aware of these things, but you can leave it somewhat.
All right.
Point.
Okay, so there's audience makeup that didn't fit. Then we have the money grabbers, as we call them internally, right? And then the manual bidding thing.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that we need to look at?
Not necessarily in terms of audience, but I would, like some of the things that I see is that conversion tracking is not live, or they have set up conversion tracking, but they don't remember to include it on every campaign, right? So we don't see the measure on the campaign level. That's also an issue. A huge issue is, at least if you want to drive pipeline, right? So that I would definitely recommend have conversions, also offline conversions, and remember to put them on the campaigns.
Also referred to as CAPI,
Yeah,
Conversions
exactly,
API.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I think one thing that people always struggle a lot with when it comes to LinkedIn is actually building an audience.
Yeah.
That's at least what I see, right? So I see all different kinds of weird targeting with like member skills and like groups, interests. I see, because you can do, there's difference between and or targeting, and like this, and people get lost in it. I see that a lot, and that's something sometimes what happens when you end up with those 150, 200K audience sizes, right? Do you have like a recipe or a template or something you can share that says like, here is how, if I had to build my ideal audience, here are the parameters, or like the filters, or whatever we want to call it. Here is the parameters that I set up, and so the perfect way to build it.
Yes, and usually I would look at it in the code layer primarily.
Yes,
because the retargeting layer is a different story, right?
Yeah.
But in the code layer, I would usually start with seeing if I can get a list of companies, because LinkedIn is great in terms of the company size and industries and whatnot, but there are cases where the industry is not the same as it is in real life, right?
Yes.
So I would take a company list from a third-party website and use that to narrow down the companies I want to reach. Then I would do the job titles first. If I can get an audience size that I'm happy with, that could be between, I don't know, 20 and 80K people. Based on the job titles, then I'm good. I know that this is my audience. If not, then I would probably go into something like job functions. But then I would also put an and that would be seniorities.
Yeah.
So you have a buyer persona, you have some decision makers, some influencers and whatnot. You need to include them all. So you can't just say, I only want the CEO or the decision makers,
classic.
Right? Because for once, it's very expensive, and also there's a lot of people, usually in B2B, that is influencing the decision.
Yeah.
So you want to have them all included. So I would pick the different seniorities that I need to match. And then if I don't have a list, I would also put in industry and company size.
Okay.
That would be my 4 main priorities. If the audience is still 500K, then I would probably need to look at either the region, so am I reaching the whole world, or am I focusing on the Nordics or DACH or whatever. If I'm also having the right region and it's still 500K, then I would look at member skills or groups or whatever to try to narrow it even further down.
Cool. Thanks for that.
And then you need to exclude everything, right?
Yes. All the exclusions.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we want to shift gears a little bit, I think this was a really good intro to the very technical part of LinkedIn, and there's also the whole optimization talk, and the objective talk, and so there's a lot of things to go into, and it's getting tricky because with something like paid social and demand gen, there's so many dependencies.
Yes.
So we'll maybe leave that for another episode where we just talk optimization goals, right? So if we want to shift gears a little bit, and we're gonna want to go into. So we spend all this money on LinkedIn and trying to create demand and all that stuff, but how do you look at LinkedIn ads to report meaningfully on it.
Yeah.
So broad question, see
Yeah.
where it goes.
But basically, I look at paid social in general as a platform that I do not need the click for, right?
Right.
So on average, less than 1% of the people that you're targeting is going to click on your ad.
Yeah.
So if you're only looking at, in your CRM, for instance, this person has clicked on an ad, gone to the website, accepted cookies, had cross-device tracking and whatnot, and then became an opportunity, then you're good to go, but you will miss out of a lot of data.
Yeah.
So we also look at the view conversions. And we would need to have the CAPI, or the offline conversions, to go into LinkedIn in order to get that picture. So that would be sending a conversion from HubSpot. This person has now entered an opportunity stage, send that data back to LinkedIn. LinkedIn will then try to match that with a person that have seen or clicked on our ad within the last 90 day or 30 day, depending on your attribution window. And then you see the conversion. That's a good starting point for seeing, okay, we are reaching people that are converting at some point. But I would also look at the company tab. I'll go into HubSpot, for instance, look at all the deals created within the last week, and see, okay, how many of these companies have had impressions from our ads or engaged with our ads within 90 days before that create date. And then we can say, okay, it might not be able to match the right person, but we can with a certainty say that this company have been served our ad 1,000 times within the last 90 days. There's a possibility that we've influenced that deal.
Yeah.
So that's one of the metrics I would look at.
Okay. And that's really that's really the name of the game with paid social, right?
Yeah.
It is a matter of influence because, as you say, we probably won't get, like, obviously it would be super cool, right? We serve an ad, they click it, accept all the cookies, do all the things, convert on that session, right? And we don't have any weird redirects on the side, on the customer side or like on the website.
Yeah.
And then they convert, and then we'll be able to see that. But it is a matter of influence.
Exactly, and that's also kind of a mindset thing, right? Because if you do want to track everything by click base, that forces people to go back to the lead gen forms and the ebooks and whatnot, because then you can say, okay, this person downloaded the lead gen form, and then a few years later they became an opportunity. We have influenced that one.
Yeah,
but it's a harder game, right?
Yeah. Well, my favorite conversion or metric is also the view conversion on LinkedIn, right? Because that tells me that, okay, so here is a message or like an ad that I served that left enough of a mark to have people go into the to the website and do an action, right?
Yeah.
While it's not that ad solely, it's probably the mix of all the things that we're running.
Yeah.
But that's really also my favorite conversion because, as you say, LinkedIn is not a place, same with Meta, where you necessarily want the click, right?
Exactly.
I think in what you call it, like in the buzzword terms, I think they call it the zero click.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. And then there's the CAPI stuff that we can get into a little bit. So that's obviously a big deal of reporting on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would do all the different deal stages. I would do MQL, SQL, SAL, and closed one, and push that back to LinkedIn so we can see, okay, this campaign has had an influence on a closed one deal. This campaign had an influence on an opportunity.
Yeah.
And then you obviously need to. It's a good practice to put the conversion into last touch campaign, because otherwise that might fluctuate your picture a bit.
Yeah.
If you have it on each campaign, you'll suddenly get 10 conversions, but it's only one deal.
It's only one deal.
So, need to be aware of that as well.
All right. Okay, so we talk about influence, right? And we're sending, like, you match the companies and the companies tab and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have any like benchmarks or guardrails for when you say you have had enough impressions or enough interaction, enough engagements to actually say, okay, here is some influence, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people struggle with that because then they see, well, we did serve 3 impressions over here, or like we did serve this many impressions here, so like technically there is an influence, and then you report an influence revenue and your ROI seems super good but you serve 3 impressions, right? Do you have any like, obviously it's not the right answer, but like any guardrails?
Yeah, so back in the day, you were able to see how many people from the company that you were targeting. I would then multiply that by 4, for instance. So if I'm targeting 25 people, I would need to have, from that company, I would need to have 100 impressions to say that I've served these 25 people, or it could be one person, right? But in general, I would serve that these 25 people that are relevant for us 4 times within the last 90 days.
Okay.
That would be a good benchmark. Now you can't see those anymore. Hopefully they'll come back to us. But I would say, okay, if they have more than 50 impressions within the last 90 days, then I'll say that I've influenced the deal. If I have less, then I wouldn't.
Okay.
And for engagement, that would obviously, in engagement, I'm happy. But LinkedIn can only show the engagement if they've had more than 3.
Yeah.
But I would put that into account and say, okay, this company has actually engaged with our ads, and there's a chance that resonated with them, right? Or you could use tools like Fiplo or Dream Data or whatever to get that as well.
Nice. Any cool underutilized hacks or like funny ways to do technical stuff in LinkedIn or whatever comes to mind that you have that you can share?
Yeah, we are looking at tools for once to automatically do the manual bidding.
Yeah,
that should be pretty nice and make life easier for a lot of people, especially those that don't have the time to go in each week and check the bidding. But other than that, there's something like ad scheduling. On LinkedIn, right now you can't do ad scheduling, so you have to do manually, pause the campaigns, and know whenever people are ready to see your ads. But there are tools that you can say, okay, usually our audience is live from 8 to 8 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So we will only have our ads live these days, and then it'll automatically pause them whenever it's not in that time slot on that day. Those are pretty nice features to look into if you want to maximize the spend.
I think that also requires quite a bulk of data in order to be able to say that, right? To have, enough data to meaningfully say, well, we need to shut off our ads on Saturday, Sunday, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Just because, and then it becomes a matter of, okay, what do we believe in? Because we might see more expensive conversions.
Yeah.
And obviously this also depends on ACVs and all that, like decision-making group size and all that. But just because we might see more expensive conversions in the weekends, it's not necessarily a reason to shut it off because, all the people seeing it in the weekends, they might then convert later in the week, right? Yeah,
so I would still put into account the CPM and the CTR of the weekends. If it's very low, or very high CPM or very low CTR, then there's a chance that our audience is not very active in these days. So some people do shut off LinkedIn in the weekends, but a lot of people are still active. So it's still a good time to serve because then they'll go on Monday and Tuesday and then see another ad and remember, okay, I actually saw something cool in the weekend and still convert. So you need to take that into account whenever you're doing it.
Is there any other like cool hacks that you're exploring right now?
We are looking into impression caps.
Yes.
So we are trying to narrow down the amount of impressions that a company can get.
Yes.
That's very valuable if you're doing ABM, for instance.
Yeah.
Sometimes we see that LinkedIn is serving the larger companies the most.
Yeah.
So if you have a list of 100 companies, there's a chance that top 20 companies will get 80% of the impressions.
Anyone that's ever had Novo Nordisk in the audience know what we're talking about.
Exactly. So we would need to try to narrow that down.
Yeah.
And one way to do that is by capping them.
Yeah.
So you go into the company tab and you can set a cap of, in this case, that would be the maximum, the minimum impressions that a company can have. So that would be for Novo Nordisk, we could say the last 7 days they should have had, or this list of companies should have had at least 25 impressions. And then you'll go and exclude that. So whenever a company get above the 25 impressions within a 7-day period, they will be excluded from the list. And thereby we'll serve the other companies that hasn't gotten 25 impressions.
Okay.
It's a difficult way to do it. Right now, it's very manual, and you have to do it for each campaign to make sure that they see all your ads.
Yeah.
Other than that, your text ads will probably, within a day or two, get above the 25 impression cap, and then they will not be served anything else but the text ads. But LinkedIn is looking into also doing frequency cap, which will be on a contact level instead of company level.
Okay.
So that will make life a lot easier if that gets rolled out.
So that was actually what I was going to ask you. So you're able to say you're able to limit the amount of impressions a company sees of your ads. So that's a penetration play really, and that's something you would utilize in your cold layer to say, okay, well, I want to make sure that I distribute my money and my impressions evenly across this entire 100 target account list. So I'm making sure that I'm not over-serving some and under-serving others.
Exactly.
Right.
And then you do it on the campaign level, so you make sure they see all the ads. And that also means that even if you have a impression cap of 25, that not limits them to only 25 impressions. They can just only see 25 impressions of our social proof ads.
Yeah.
They can still see our case stories or whatever until they get 25 impressions for that campaign as well.
Okay. So it's on company level and on campaign level.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
That's a very cool thing to do.
Yeah.
All right. We are about to come up on time here, Mathias.
Yeah.
But before I let you out of the cave here, we have some rapid fire questions for you. And you weren't prepared for these. Okay. There is 7 or 8.
Okay.
So whatever comes to mind.
Yeah.
No explanation unless we need an explanation.
Okay.
I'll ask for it. First one, advertising on LinkedIn or Meta?
LinkedIn.
Okay. What is your preferred ad type?
Video.
Video. What is your preferred optimization type? Campaign optimization type?
That would be the CPM.
CPM?
Yeah.
Okay. LinkedIn or Reddit?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn?
Yeah.
What is the best LinkedIn ad you ever saw?
Oh, the best LinkedIn I ever saw. That's a good question. I think it's probably not a specific ad, but more type. I do love the thought lead ads.
Yeah.
I think they're pretty cool, and I get dazzled by them. I also don't recognize that it's an ad.
Right.
So yeah.
Would you only run video ads forever or single image ads forever?
Video, definitely.
Would you ever only run thought leader ads or only video ads forever?
Thought lead ads.
Thought leader ads.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
That was the end of the rapid fire.
Nice.
Mathias, thank you so much for coming and sharing all your LinkedIn wisdom. Appreciate it very much.